Once again, their teaser was a bit of a snoozer. I know this one is highly rated, but I found the start kind of overrated. Thankfully, it picked up speed, and at last I thought, this is the one we need. The end got surprisingly thrilling, and that's no sort of bullshit shilling.
That was almost perfect.
Almost got it.
You messed up.
When the episode faded to black, I really wanted it to come back. I'm Justin.
I'm Josh.
And this is From There to Here. And today we are looking at Season 3, Episode 18, Azati Prime. And according to the IMDb, the description is, Archer decides he should pilot a kamikaze shuttle to destroy the Xindi weapon. But Temporal Agent Daniels urges him to reconsider.
What do we think this is rated?
We already knew this.
It was top rated.
It's listed as a top rated, so it's definitely in the 8s or 9s.
I'm at 8.4.
8.7. I know Azati Prime is like highly talked about.
What do you have?
It is 8.5.
Did you just say 8.5?
No, I said 7.
Oh, I said 8.4. Okay. As for background info on this episode, little interesting things, little interesting tidbits off of Wikipedia. So the Xindi shuttle set had been constructed for hatchery. So that was a reuse.
Okay.
While a new set was constructed for the bridge of the Enterprise J, which consisted mostly of a green screen. I was like, no kidding. That was the bridge they were on?
No.
I know.
That wasn't the bridge. That was a hallway.
Well, this is off of Wikipedia.
We even saw the underside of the saucer.
I know.
They weren't on the bridge.
I know. And maybe it wasn't.
Maybe they cut it.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's what it says here. The future Enterprise was The future Enterprise was designed by Doug Drexler, who drew the first design only 2 days prior to the production meeting for the episode. How about that? The computer-generated model was created in a few hours, and Drexler later said that they would have finished it differently. He imagined that the vessel was so large that there would be universities and entire parks on board, with turbolifts replaced by short-range transporters. Holy crap, it's that big.
That'd be kind of interesting.
More than one design was created, with the final version created with elements from different designs. One of the elements incorporated into the version seen on screen was a reduction in the size of the warp nacelle supports, as Drexler said that he did not like that they increased in size. Okay, so basically about that design of the Enterprise J, which you had told me actually is a thing you can buy. Right. That's interesting.
Yeah. You can. I have Eagle Moss. I think recently they had stopped, but Eagle Moss had been producing just countless Star Trek ships. They had their XL line, which were probably 8 to 10 inches long at their biggest ones, and then the kind of the other ones, the smaller ones, which you could get, say, like the Enterprise would be 6 inches long, and they're really cool for I think a decent price. And Eagle Moss, yeah, it's the company that made it. And I had the whole Enterprise line. Interplexing. They had Deep Space Nine, so I have all of that.
Okay.
But while connecting the line of Enterprises, I stopped at. I did get the E. Okay. But when it came to the J, I very intentionally didn't get it because why? I don't really care. It was just a graphic on the screen in an episode. I have no emotional connection to it. Why would I get it?
To be a completist,
and
I suppose.
To be honest, though, I found it kind of wanting. It doesn't have a whole lot of character.
Well, no, you can't tell from the.
Oh yeah, I mean, but they even when they have the physical model that they have pictures of on the box,
sure.
It's all right. I mean, it's kind of neat looking in its own way, but
does it have a drive section? Technically, it didn't look like it did in that. Graphic. I
think it did, but it's a secondary hull. You mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's much smaller, and like they said, the warp engines are much smaller. It's more dish than anything else. And
it's big, grande.
Big, grande. Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, can you beat the Enterprise A? It just doesn't get
the A? Yeah,
it doesn't get any better. I love the D. The D is beautiful.
Except from the back, the rear view is a little, because that saucer is so big.
Yeah, you need to look at it from the front or the side.
It doesn't quite, it's not a very flattering angle.
It's okay, but you're right. It's not its best angle.
Mm-mm.
But like even the E, it's all right. The E never.
It has no character.
No,
to me, it never did.
No, to me, it's very.
Well, plus, like you just said, I had no emotional attachment to it.
No, I didn't. But
No.
I mean, audiences had emotional attachment to Kirk's 1701 and from the show. And then before you know it, you get to the motion picture and you're like, screw that little ship. This thing's gorgeous.
Right.
You know, the second the E appeared on screen, I was like, oh, all right. It seemed very generic.
It does.
You know,
kind of thrown together.
It just, all right. Yes, it looks like a Star Trek ship, but it just looks like a Star Trek ship.
I can't even remember what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in my memory, I have nothing. Like
it's longer and sleeker looking,
right.
But so what?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, when it came to the D, like no other starship really looked like it.
No.
And that's, well, you want that. Like, of course, you know, in reality, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But
how do you, that there's no other ship like it?
Yeah, like an aircraft.
But there were others.
Well, but like in real life, like an aircraft carrier is an aircraft carrier,
right.
Basically. You'd be hard pressed to tell the difference unless you're an aficionado.
Right.
But when it comes to these starships, like no other ship looked as good as the Enterprise, and that's the way you want it. Like you want your.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, you
your
want
hero ship to be.
You want that. It's the flagship, and it's our hero ship. It's the star of the show. You want it to stand out.
But I mean, to be fair though, they took that design. You know how obviously the Reliant was just the dish, but with some, flourishes and all that. But you're like, okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You know, like it feels real to the world.
Right.
And then they did the next generation version of that with the Sutherland. Mm-hmm. You know, that was the Reliant version just updated to TNG style. Mm-hmm. And you're like, yep, I dig it. It's got power, you know. Not the majesty that the D has, so it still gets to be the most beautiful thing on the block. But when I see the J, I'm just like, oh, all right, whatever, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it reminds me of the movie Waterworld, and I know this is thrown in out of
Dry land is not a myth,
right?
I've seen it.
It reminds me of an interview that Kevin Costner had before the movie came out.
Yeah,
and they were talking about, I think it was on Conan O'Brien, and he talked about how he had the best boat in the whole movie. Like in the whole Waterworld universe, he had the best boat. Why is that? And he's like, well, you know,
I'm the hero.
He's the hero. He's like, he said, I could have had a dinghy, but I mean, how cool would that be? Right. He's like, of course he has the best looking one.
He's got the Millennium Falcon of water.
Exactly.
Ships.
It's like, sure. It's like
everyone wants that one.
He's the hero. Like he's got to have the best one. I was like, I get it. Makes sense. So that's why you want the starship to look the best. But going back to the Enterprise J.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this model that you're talking about. All I've seen is the graphic back there, and I did appreciate the kind of simplistic design it had.
Yeah, I'll give it that. It's almost like a future version of Archer's ship, more so than like Kirk's Enterprise or the D, if you think about it.
Yeah, no, that's true. So I did appreciate that quality of it, but I never gave it thought, really. I was like, oh, it's just clearly that's something they made up fast. I was like, okay, that's fine. It's just meant to be in the background for a few minutes. And to
but they had to know that by putting that on screen.
Oh, that the hardcore fans. I mean, I would call myself a hardcore fan. I don't think I'm that hardcore. But yeah, that's something I'll definitely take note of. Like I'm a guy that will note, things about uniforms. Like it still bothers me to this day, like why in Generations they wore two different styles. Like, what's the big deal? Just put them all in the same one. Like, why would you do that on purpose? Like, they never explain it either. To me, that's just weird.
I agree. I'm trying to find you a quick picture of the J.
Okay, that'll help bring a little context to our conversation.
Yeah. So like if you look at this, it is still mostly dish. It does have a secondary hull, but it's really, really thin and small.
Can you throw that over here?
It just serves as a connection piece to get the warp engines away from the dish.
Oh, it has a front section there that I didn't see in there.
It really is more, now that I said it, it really is more reminiscent of Archer's Enterprise
Yeah.
than anything else. Maybe that was on purpose. Maybe they were trying to, say Archer's influence and like that style maybe had a resurgence.
I think there's maybe streamlined is the word I'm looking for too, and graceful, I suppose. Where it's more of a minimalist kind of approach.
Right.
So there are aspects of it I do kind of admire, I suppose. But like I said, I don't really care. It served its purpose. But anyway, so let's go back to Azati Prime. Let's get into it. We haven't really gotten into it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So you did mention in your poem here that it started off, it was rather a lackluster beginning, I think. It was fine. It was fine. Again, we bring up the teaser, the fact that they're not selling us with this teaser. The whole idea is to tease you into coming back after the commercial, and it doesn't really. I think they're like doing a toast.
And Enterprise as a show has been surprisingly weak in their teasers.
Yeah, it's
just kind of weak sauce stuff.
Yeah. So it did start off. Excuse me. It did start off kind of on the weaker side.
I was a little worried.
Yeah, so was I, because I was thinking this is supposed to be top rated. They should be right out of the gate, and it wasn't. But it improved. The drama helped improve the pacing and excitement just from watching it.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I'm quite burned out right now, so I didn't. It was difficult to focus on some aspects of the plot.
Right.
But as the show went on, as the episode went on, and Archer was captured, and the drama that was happening between Trip and T'Pol, Trip was being very reclusive. Enterprise was nearly destroyed by the end. I mean, these were all good things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it's going, and that's good. Although I know it's leading into Damage. I think it's the one we're referring to with Casey Biggs, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what the episode's called. Maybe that is the next one.
I'm looking right now.
Okay. I liked how it ended. It ended very, very strongly.
Yeah, Damage is next.
Yeah, ended very strongly. The Enterprise is basically getting pummeled, and it's getting ripped up. And I mean, this is like they're doing like full not full, almost full Star Trek 2 style. Like, we're going to blow up everything.
Yeah.
And the bridge is falling apart. Things falling down on Mayweather's head.
Yeah.
The set's falling apart. Like, oh man, they went all out on this episode. You said it must have been Sweet Week. Maybe it was.
Yeah.
Like, they're blowing stuff up. They set a guy on fire.
Yeah.
No railing killed. Nobody jumped over the railing in this one, but they set a guy on fire. I guess that's the trade-off. If you don't do a railing, you have to put some gel on somebody and set them on fire.
Yeah. Like, you were disappointed. As soon as engineering starts blowing up, you're like, oh, there's a guy. He's going over the railing.
It looks like he's about to.
And then he doesn't.
He just falls down back a little bit.
And we were disappointed. Then, oh no, they lit someone on fire. Like, they took it to another level.
Yeah.
And you're in trouble when rafters.
Oh yeah.
That aren't there suddenly fall from the sky in the bridge. Like, bad things are coming.
Yeah.
Like, where was that rafter before?
Yeah, this is more than just, sparks flying.
Yeah.
The set's falling apart. Like, uh-oh. This isn't good. So yeah, very strong ending. I for a second thought, like, do they blow up the Enterprise and it's a time travel thing?
That's what I thought too.
Yeah,
when they show the Enterprise listing, and I was like,
it's gonna blow up.
That's what I thought. I thought literally the exact same thing. That I was like, oh well, they've talked about time travel. They're gonna take Archer back like
to fix
a week because they're gonna blow it up.
Or Daniels is gonna come back for something.
Yeah,
like
but that's not what happened. So
yeah, obviously the attack must be called off in the next episode.
Yeah, obviously
for some reason. But I've been waxing unphilosophically. Maybe you could tell me.
Well, I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, it was the first 10-ish minutes were a little weak, but it started picking up steam pretty quick. And its ending was very thrilling with the Enterprise getting trashed. I enjoyed Archer being captured and basically taunting that guy so he'll kill him because he thinks, well, if he beats me long enough, I'm going to give something up. I better get myself killed.
The size of a walnut.
Yeah,
that's very small, man.
Yeah, I enjoyed that stuff.
Yeah, that was good.
I would say,
of course, he was just getting TV show tortured here.
Right. I would say I have two beefs with the episode. They're not major, but I do have them.
Okay.
The first was as I was watching the internal drama between the Xindi themselves, not humanoids. What do they call themselves?
I know the others, the arboreals,
right? But the insectoids, and then whatever Dagra is, he's not humanoids. It's
we can just go with that for now.
Yeah, whatever.
It's fine.
The insectoids are so hostile that these are.
You're thinking of the reptilians.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. The reptilians. They're so antagonistic,
mm-hmm.
and they're in the way, And it's almost like when I watch
in the way of their own
anything.
Okay,
like they're just so difficult to deal with.
Uh-huh.
Even the arboreal guy. As soon as the insectoid guy leaves the room, he goes, "Oh, there's this phrase, something saying basically dealing with insectoids is just not worth it. Reptilians is just not worth it."
Right.
And I actually found myself flashing back to Planet of the Apes because you have orangutans, chimpanzees, and the gorillas.
Yes.
And everyone can't stand the gorillas because all they want to do is fight. They're just difficult, but they're so big.
The orangutans are like the
aristocrats.
The aristocratic people.
And the gorillas are all the scientist type. It's very class.
And the chimps are like the blue collar type.
I'm sorry, the chimpanzees, they're the blue collar / scientists and all of that.
They're the working class, basically.
In a manner of speaking, yeah. And then the gorillas are just big dumb apes. And it's such a clear division. It's very weak, but it's also you're just like, okay, don't ever give these gorillas any power because they are you can't deal with them. Right. They're so dumb, but they're powerful. Unfortunately,
right.
I felt that way. Like these guys aren't just they're not worth the trouble. So that bothered me because.
Well, for drama purposes, I mean, you have these two factions inside the Xindi hierarchy, where it's reptilians and insectoids, versus the arboreals and humanoid, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So that makes it interesting for us.
I guess
they can't get along.
I just can't help but think, their society wouldn't have worked.
No, it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. No, at least from our point of view. Like, how did they evolve when they seem so antagonistic toward each other?
Exactly.
Yeah. But then again, you could say the same thing about humans.
Arguably.
How?
Arguably. It's fair enough.
I mean, if you watch 2001, right? You watch the opening, and that's basically this is how humanity evolved, fighting each other over resources.
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. My other quibble was Archer himself and how he chose to pilot the mission that would have, in theory, destroyed the sphere.
Well, you liked that part, and you made note of that during the episode, that when he had to destroy that moon base, you're like, oh, we needed more of that.
No, that I liked.
Yeah.
But when...
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, when he opted to pilot the ship, it
was a one-way mission.
It was a one-way mission. That's why he wanted to do it.
Right.
And he even talked to Mayweather, because Mayweather said, why are you doing this? Because even you and I commented, he's too valuable for this. But then he paid lip service and said, well, earlier I just destroyed this base. No one else is going to die because of me. I actually think that's very selfish of him.
Okay.
As a leader in the position he is, where they're fighting for the species, you're going to have to make hard choices and be alive the next day to make another one. And he's hoping that this works.
Well, it's I think I understand that. I'm not saying I'm justifying his decision. I think you make a good point. Mm-hmm. I find it, I think, comparatively, we could put it against Janeway's decision in the episode, I think it was
1201.
Night? No, not 1201. Night.
Uh-huh.
I get Night mixed up with the Void.
I know, so do I.
I think they called No. In Night, they called it the Void, but there's another one when they're stuck in a void,
Right.
but it's called something else. Anyway, no, I think that one, Night, they were stuck in a void that was very large, and at the end, their option to get out meant that someone had to stay behind, and Janeway was going to sacrifice herself so the crew could get out, and then the crew mutinied against her and said, "No, you're staying with us. We're all going to get out together."
Yeah.
And I agree that about that point you made. I think it was a selfish choice she was making. For the sake, you think you're being altruistic,
Right.
but I think you are. You're thinking about your own guilt right now,
Exactly.
not about what the crew needs. You're thinking about what you need to alleviate that guilt. So,
well, it's like that TNG episode. What is the episode? It's the one where
Masaka is waiting.
no, not that.
New vertiform city.
Not that one.
That one.
It's,
These are all golden episodes.
Oh yeah, these are the standouts. No, it's the one where Troy is trying to take the officers to command the bridge.
Oh, that's Thine Own Self.
Thine Own Self, and she's trying to pass the test where the Enterprise is going to blow up. Something's wrong with it. And at the end of the day, she had to sacrifice someone. She had to send, in this case, Geordi, into a thing that would save the ship.
Anyway.
What?
Nobody likes
no one
him.
likes
Just
him
send
anyway.
him. Nobody cares.
I know.
He'll do Reading Rainbow in the
Now-
afterlife. It's fine.
In that scenario, that I guess that's almost not really. It's not really a Kobayashi Maru type scenario.
What,
but
her scenario?
Yeah. But she could have, in the test, she could have said, I'll go into the guts of the ship and I'll fix it. I'll die and everyone else will live. But that's not your job as the commander. Your job as the commander is to
The ship.
Is
Your
to the
first
ship.
duty is to the ship.
Yeah. And you have to live because in theory, you are the most qualified person to do it. And now in that case, you could make the estimation that it was the Enterprise D was, out in space by itself. So the commander sacrificing themselves wouldn't cost the lives of anyone else. Maybe. Okay, I'll give you that. But in this case, Archer is integral. And if that goes wrong, he should be alive on the ship to take the next step. So yes, I do. I think it's very selfish of him. Some cases, the commander sacrificing himself is noble. But in this case, I think it's cowardly. He doesn't want to make any more of those decisions. It hurt his little feelings. And,
You're right.
To quote Doogie Howser in Starship Troopers, that's too bad.
We're in it for the species.
We're in it for
boys
the
and girls.
species. And you got to stand up. And you should have said, Mayweather, I'm sorry, it has to be you. And that be that. And Mayweather would have understood that. So did, and it was perfectly logical for Mayweather to sacrifice himself or even Trip. Although Trip is too valuable, it should have been Mayweather. And it's a tough call, but you got to be alive to make them. And that was a little
superficially, I think, dramatic in terms of drama. It seems like a good choice.
Yeah, but when you think about it, no.
I think it would have made it more dramatic if someone did call him out on that and said, I think you're being really selfish right now.
I agree.
I was like, we need you.
Yeah.
And you're doing this because you feel guilty and it's too hard for you. Well, screw you. Everyone feels guilty about the things we've had to do out here, but we're doing it for a reason.
Right.
And you just can't throw in the towel because it's uncomfortable.
I agree.
If they had said that to him, I think that would have been better. I think it would have, made it much more dramatic.
Totally.
I mean, when then you have to sacrifice somebody who is clearly not as integral.
Right.
You're like, oh, this really sucks because someone has to die, and it's just this Mayweather, this all around nice guy. Like he's got to go. That's unfortunate.
But Mayweather had a very valid argument. He flew that ship before.
Yeah.
He at that point he was the only one that had, and it was clearly difficult to control. He'd been to that base. Like he literally was one of two guys that could do it.
Yeah.
And even Trip hadn't piloted the ship.
Yeah.
So it clearly the choice was Mayweather. They needed to name these guys with different starting names.
Well, what's Mayweather's first? Oh, Travis.
It should have been Travis.
Because he calls I can't, now I'm getting it mixed up. He calls, I can't remember Malcolm's last name now.
Malcolm.
You just
Reed.
said- Okay, he calls Reed Malcolm.
Yeah.
But he doesn't call Mayweather Travis, does he?
No, he doesn't call Mayweather, he calls Mayweather Travis.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, because it's more personal because he's young, so you got to feel that connection. Although he does call Malcolm. He calls everyone by their first name now that I think about it.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
You prefer Will or William, sir? Will, sir.
Is Hoshi's first name Hoshi?
Yeah, Hoshi Sato.
Hoshi Sato. Yeah, okay. Good point.
But although, yes, it seems dramatic to have Archer sacrifice himself, I think it would have been even more dramatic. Now, granted, I know they needed to get Archer off the ship and all that, but
I mean, it wouldn't have been that. Honestly.
I disagree.
No. I was about to say, like, what if it's Mayweather being tortured?
That's what I'm saying.
You think that's okay?
Oh yeah. As broken up as Archer is, that he had to kill 3 people on the base, and honestly, guys, come on, writers, make it be like 50 people on the base.
Yeah,
like not just 3. Commit. But then that's very different than sacrificing Mayweather. And to have Archer should have walked Mayweather to the shuttle bay and watched him leave with the look of, I've just killed this kid, and have that sit on him to where it's you could then have him be on the ship as the ship is starting. You know how they have T'Pol acting all crazy and all that because she thinks Archer's dead. Put Archer in that place. Now he's really screwed up mentally because he's sacrificed Mayweather. So now when they think Mayweather did not succeed, now Archer's like, all right, you know what? I'm going to get this done. Then you can understand his motivation because now he's really hurt, then have someone call him out and go, no, you've got no business. Exactly what Trip was doing with T'Pol, but have it be T'Pol telling him, you have no business. You need to be detached like I am, and you need to do this. And to have that, how the last shot was T'Pol clearly thinking, crap, we're about to die. It's my fault. To have that episode end on Archer sitting there on his face thinking, and we know what he's thinking, I've just killed my species. We're about to die. That is dramatic. It's still dramatic having T'Pol be there. Yeah. But more so if it was Archer.
No, I agree.
And they would have had an excuse to get what's Mayweather's actor, the real name?
You're talking about out of his shirt?
Yeah. They love getting that guy out of his shirt.
Okay.
And, strip him down, have him getting beaten,
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's just like DS9 had every year they had a Torture O'Brien episode. Every year we got to have Travis out of his shirt.
Yeah, that's true. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to remember the specifics of episodes we haven't gotten to yet. But isn't T'Pol being affected by
the Trillium D?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's why that hasn't happened yet.
But I think it's revealed that she's taking injections.
Yeah, I think so.
Or something like that. It's becoming like a drug for her, and she's addicted to it, and she's having withdrawals maybe is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's why she can't control her emotions anymore?
Right.
Okay. I wish they would have expanded on the drama between Trip and T'Pol because she is acting so reclusive, and at the end, when she's about to sacrifice herself,
right?
And Trip has to actually physically try to stop her and saying, "You're not right in the head. Something's wrong. What's wrong with you?" And she pushes him away, and you're like, "Well, I wish they would have gone deeper into that." Trip would ask so many questions, like, "What is wrong? Like, what are you talking about? You're not making any sense."
Yeah.
I mean, I did appreciate the scene prior to that where he goes to visit her and trying to tell her, like, you're not doing a good job right now because you should be on the bridge.
Yeah.
And she literally tells him to get out.
Get out.
And I was like, well, that was a good line. She said dismissed. He's like, what? Get out. I was like, damn it.
To me, that's a callback to Voyager.
Which part? Which one?
I think it was within the first couple episodes of the first season, where Janeway's in her ready room and Neelix, Voyager had gotten themselves mixed up into something, and Neelix came in there to go, hey, I don't think this is a good idea what you're doing. I know this is all Starfleety, but I don't get involved in these kinds of things. So I'm going to go hop in my shuttle and we're going to go wait and see if you die or not and then pick us back up. And she goes, no, you joined us. You're with us. And now you're dismissed. And he looks at her and he goes, what? She goes, let me rephrase. That's Starfleet for get out. And he has to kind of about face and leave.
I don't remember this scene.
Oh yeah. It was a nice little moment when she said that Starfleet for get out. And he gets out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I made the mistake of telling my boss that once. That's that scene, describing that scene.
ooh.
And there was one time I really pissed him off and he goes, hey, you're dismissed. And we both knew what that meant.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Well, I think we did cover the main points of the episode, at least.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, your rewrite of that part, I like. I like someone being sacrificed that is not Archer.
Yeah.
And having to watch him go and realize he's not coming back. I think it's...
And he's the young guy.
I think, yeah, it's the younger person. It's more dramatic always when the captain has to sacrifice, not himself, but one of his...
subordinates,
for lack of a better word.
Yeah. One of his crew.
One of his crew, you know, when you always want to say like, oh, just let it be me then. I can't do that. That's a cop out. It's too easy. Like, you know, I'm reminded of U571 where Matthew McConaughey had to do the same thing. He had to call on the youngest, smallest guy because, well, he was the only one that could actually do it.
Right.
He didn't say, no, I'll go down there and go do it. He's like, no, well, he's clearly the only person that can.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to go. Even though he knew there was no way he was coming back.
Right.
And it's better that way.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Did we miss anything?
I don't think so. I mean,
did you like the fact that they didn't reveal yet? It was a tease about what's wrong with T'Pol. They didn't tell us
didn't
anything.
mind it, honestly, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I totally remember that whole Trellium D addiction thing, but honestly, as this episode was progressing, it never even occurred to me that that's what was going on, that it was because there was more so her emotional reaction to Archer potentially dying.
Prior to that, maybe like midway through the episode, she was having some kind of moment where she started crying.
Yeah, you're right.
I can't remember what it was in reaaction to.
It was when Archer said, I'm going.
Okay, and there was a tear.
Yeah, and she tried to talk him out of it, but he was like, nope, I'm going.
She said, I don't want you to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. He should have said something like that right then and there. Like, are you all right there? It's very un-Vulcan-like what you're doing right now.
Right.
But he didn't. But I do find that interesting. I don't know why. When I see a Vulcan lose their control.
Well, it would be interesting if it didn't happen to Paul every other episode.
Seems to happen a lot, but...
And she did have a constipation moment.
Yeah, she did.
Again, we should have a drinking game every time T'Pol looks constipated.
Maybe on the floor. I think... Well, maybe I like it when T'Pol goes through this because the way that Jolene Blaylock plays her is so reserved a lot of the time.
Right.
And I'm like, well, you know, I like seeing her be vulnerable a little bit.
Sure.
And she doesn't do that enough. Like when she was in, what was it, E Squared? Is that what we saw? Is that what it's called?
That hasn't happened yet.
What did we see where it's the future?
Oh, that's Twilight.
Oh, Twilight. Yeah, when she was playing a matured, older T'Pol, and she obviously had gotten in touch with her emotions a little bit. She'd softened.
Right.
And I liked that. So when that happens to her, I find it interesting. Maybe it's the way she plays it. I don't really know. Because I don't think I like it so much when it happens to Spock.
When he gets emotional?
Well, you know, when he gets vulnerable every once in a while.
Very rare, though.
But when he does, it works, but it's very small. It's very short.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a different, maybe it's because she's a woman. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think
when at the end of Amok Time, you know, when he smiles.
That's what I was going to say.
Jim, you know, he's like, but it only lasts a second.
And you see it play in his eyes, and he's like, crap. And he had to dial it down.
Yeah. And then he immediately goes back to normal Spock. And like, oh, that was great. But it was just enough.
I know. And I love on the bridge when I think it's McCoy that goes, Spock, just admit you were on the verge of an emotional explosion. He goes, oh, no, see, you misunderstood that. I was simply relieved that Starfleet had not lost a very capable captain.
Right. See?
And they basically said, that's the story you're sticking with? And he goes, yep.
See,
and he turns around and leaves.
Yeah, they'll only give you that little taste.
Yeah.
You got to leave them wanting a little bit more. But that's because he's Spock. That's different. He's Leonard Nimoy. Totally different way.
I know.
portrays
It is
Spock.
very difficult to get. Spock is, if you think about it, Spock, Worf is more like Spock in the sense that
Okay.
Spock had two worlds to choose from, human or Vulcan. He chose Vulcan, and he's got to be the best Vulcan because he's already at a human disadvantage. Worf is kind of the same way. He knows about Klingon culture through books and stories. He didn't live it. So he's got to be the best Klingons are supposed to be. So really, real Klingons fall short because they're not, most of them are not honorable at all. But Worf is like the uber Klingon, you know? He has more in common with Spock than T'Pol does.
I see what you mean.
In a way.
That's a good point. Okay. So next week, it's Damage. Okay. I remember that being good. So the crew gets desperate. And
That's all I remember is they get desperate and Archer has to strand the guy. That's all I know.
yeah. I'm looking forward to that. I didn't remember anything about Azati Prime going into this, but I was entertained.
Yeah. I was too.
Do you want to rate this?
Oh, sure. I'll give it an A. A minus.
I think I'll go with A minus. I think it had a slow start.
Yeah.
But it picked up. I think,
and I really don't care for the Archer thing now that we dissected it. But it doesn't really hurt the episode exactly, to be fair. It could have just been this could have been an A+ episode.
It could have been.
Yeah.
And this is one of those episodes where it feels like, man, I wish this would have happened earlier. Or
that's what we say every time there's been like maybe 5 good episodes and you're like, man, I wish they were all like this or that it came sooner.
Yeah. I don't think we've because we took last week off.
Yeah.
I don't think we heard from anybody.
Anybody?
I don't think so. If you could wrap up your closing thoughts on this while I look that up.
All right. Well, at the end of the day, I can definitely feel. I think when I double checked on IMDb, I believe I said this was episode 19. So we've probably got about 6 episodes left, and I can feel the conclusion coming. And the sad thing is you could throw out probably half of the season, and if you just looked at those, then it's probably much more interesting. But the amount of filler has really been hurtful. But I can feel the speed picking up. I don't think going forward we're going to have any filler episodes.
Not now.
That would be my suspicion. Yeah, I know E2 is coming. I remember as a fan when the original airings were happening, we heard E2. What is it? There's going to be another Enterprise. Boy, did we build that episode up, and it was.
I don't remember this.
It was disappointing.
Okay.
Not that the episode is bad or anything, but just we thought, is it going to be an Enterprise from the future? Like fans just this was before the internet was what it is right now. So the information was not available.
Okay.
And I vividly remember that fans were theorizing that it was a future Enterprise and we were going to get to see this new kind of Enterprise. No, it was just the old one. Just the crew was older,
Oh, is that what it is?
Descendant. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's an E2 that it's a E squared. It is Enterprise.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's been in the Expanse for a really long time, and it's T'Pol's descendant that's captain now.
I thought it was T'Pol.
No, she was still on the ship. She was super old, but she was not commanding the ship anymore. It was her descendant, her son, who was Trip's son.
Right.
Then that's how they realized, wait, we have a thing like going forward, and they realized, wow, this can work. And I think that really kicks their relationship onto another level when they realize they actually produced a son together.
Yeah.
And we get to see T'Pol old in old age makeup.
She talks to her younger self.
Yeah. And I think the guy that plays their son is the guy that commanded, or he was on a TV show. Was it Team Knight Rider or something like that?
Okay.
Some of the show, I like this guy, this actor. Like he's got a quality.
Team Knight Rider.
Maybe it wasn't Team Knight Rider. It was something like that. But
nobody knows that show.
Yeah, I know. But I like this guy, this actor. He's got a quality that I just dig when I see him. Okay. You'll remember him when you see him. You're like, oh yeah, I've seen that guy before.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, we did hear from someone.
Oh, all right.
Well, because we took a week off, so I'd forgotten. But last week we heard from Joshua. So another Josh out there. I'm sure there's millions of them.
Joshua.
Yes. So he said, "Hey guys, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate y'all." Where do you think he's from? Texas?
Maybe the South.
Thank you for not being woke. You guys get it.
We are not woke.
I watched the new Trek, but don't really like it. I found y'all by searching for Enterprise, and this was the first one.
Well, that's good because there's only, I think, 3 of us.
There's not that many of us. There are a few. I think Warp 5 still has
right
the top spot.
But not to downplay. Thanks, man. Thanks for finding us.
Thank you guys for being real. So, hey, welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Josh, nice to have you. Thank you. I think I said to Joshua in reply, if Josh, if you ever, same goes for anyone else, if you'd like to email us with your review of the show, the episode before we get to it, or even a past one, whatever topic is on your mind, we'll read it on the show. We'll go over it. We'll bring you into discussion that way. We love doing that. But it's nice that people are still finding our show.
Yeah.
Because we've accumulated at this point, 80 episodes, a good amount. So maybe that helps with the podcast algorithm or something. I don't know.
People willing to commit to watch the show to realize,
and to us that, hey, they're in it for the long haul.
That's what I mean. Us, that we're committed.
Us. I meant to say us.
Yeah.
Yes. That's good. So if anybody would still like to email us, like Josh did, let us know when you started listening to us, how you found us, if you think we're good or bad or woke.
Right.
Yeah, let us know. We love that. So if you'd like to leave us a rating, do that in the podcast store, Apple Podcasts. That helps us out.
Yeah.
Was there anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, so see you next week in Damage.
All right.